And now we've got Major Glenn Ignazio with us, the former Air Force Special Operations Commander. All right, let's talk about some of the information that we just learned from Joe. What do you make of it?
Well, it's interesting. I think that the leader of Senate Arms Committee to be able to say that, the regime change is significant. Yeah, it is significant for the globe. But to see him say that seems that they're leaning more and more towards that. In addition, with this sort of premise of this vote next week to be for, you can give the Democrats a statement to counter President Trump. I think he might move before that. Again, that's political, but I still think that we're moving very close to operations over there. And we really have to watch the terms of conflict and war. I think that's where people are also getting a little mistaken of exactly what the operation may be.
Well, the U.S. has deployed combat jets to Israel, right? So we're taking a look at that. There's this massive buildup of military assets in the region that we've been watching and following. And if the U.S. and Iran fail to reach an agreement, and we take a look at that timeline, how soon do you think a strike could actually be carried out?
I mean, in all honesty, with the forces that are staged right now, that could happen at any time. I mean, if President Trump said now, I think they could be able to do it now. I'm sure they're doing a lot of planning. And we see right now that that the Ford has moved towards Haifa in Israel. So you're going to have the Mediterranean taken care of with a carrier group. And of course, down into the Arabian Gulf, you have the Lincoln. So a tremendous amount of force between that, the Navy and the Air Force to be able to take operations. Again, I believe it's within the next day or even today that 10-day warning from President Trump expires. So you're really on the cusp of maybe these discussions that are happening right now are the trigger to either decide to go or not. And I think we're really on the cusp of that right now.
And you talk about, whether to go or not. What are the president's military options that are on the table as we watch how many military assets are in the region at this point?
At this end, what's been alluded to is an air campaign. If we look at this is a tremendous amount of strike aircraft that could go in and hit the nuclear sites, the missile sites, which is a significant impact, IRGC and others that could give the premise for the protesters or at least a civilian movement to replace the regime. Putting U.S. troops on the ground, I don't believe that's the case. It is not the smart case, and it's not going to have an influence to change a regime. But the airstrikes will be airstrikes, and demolishing that type of military capability, plus the defenses against Israel and our U.S. bases in case they launch. But again, those are strikes on particular targets. There still has to be somebody or something on the ground to be able to change that regime other than just destroying them. Otherwise, we leave a big vacuum, and that can have basically sectarian violence and a power vacuum in Iran, which is nobody wants that.
Right. And of course, we've got our ear to the other side. The Iranian foreign minister actually warned today that Iran is prepared for war. Let's listen to this together.
Since the Americans' bases are scattered to different places in the region, then unfortunately, perhaps the whole region would be engaged and would be involved. Of course, we are prepared. We are fully prepared for both options. War, God forbid, and peace.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? But, you've got to weigh out the concern that President Trump would have about the possibility of a U.S. strike on Iran spilling over into a wider war that nobody really wants.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As we see in the UAE and other countries have said that we're not going to allow you to launch against Iran from our particular bases. In fact, Diego Garcia, a tremendous bomber base the UK has put off block. So I can see what they're going to say, that they're not going to particularly support it. However, the operations, if they are carried out and there are launches against U.S. forces, you're including Saudi, UAE, Jordan, all those countries now are sort of brought in because Iranians' offensive operation against American troops. So that's really a conflict. At the same time, if there's instability in that power vacuum that we talked about, that could cause so much instability in the Middle East, worse than what it is right now, if that was to occur in Iran. So we really have to watch this as far as how it plays out. But again, the world would be a safer place without the regime. But what is the transition between that or getting peace? And the only way that's going to happen is that a nuclear capability is eliminated in Iran. Otherwise, I don't think there's any steps forward.
Yeah, and as we were watching the State of the Union, President Trump had said Tuesday that Iran is building missiles that could reach the U.S. So let's take a look at that.
Some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.